Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 619, written by LesMiz, The Mile High Glitch. To set the background, my wife and I were sitting towards the back of the plane on a full flight from Denver to Atlanta last night. We had swapped seats so I could be on the aisle, since I have long legs. About 2 hours into the flight, a stewardess arrives with a drink cart. I asked about their beer selection and asked for the IPA before getting out my phone for contactless payment. This is where things start to get weird. The stewardess sees I have my payment card ready and asks for my name, all while pulling out a device with the seating chart. I say my first name and spell out my last name. She's starting to look very confused and asks me for my name again, so I slowly spell out my last name for her. The stewardess continues to click on her device with a really confused look on her face. At the same time, my wife and I are confused why it would matter if I planned to pay directly. So my wife jumps in and mentions that the two of us had swapped seats. Maybe that was causing the confusion? It's at this point that the stewardess explains that she thinks she may have already charged me. She says that a gentleman further up in the cabin had given her the same name. Well, I have a common first name. I have an extremely rare last name. I've done searches and there are about 50 people in the US with my last name. At that I chuckle and mention how I've never even met someone else with the same last name. But she still looks confused and starts apologizing to me, insisting that she thinks she may have already charged me. To make it even weirder, she then adds that the other guy had also ordered the same IPA and also mentioned something about swapping seats. She apologized again a couple more times, gave me my beer for free, and also gave my wife a free wine for the inconvenience. The whole exchange left us completely befuddled. I even checked my credit card statements this morning to see if this mystery person had somehow put a charge on my card, but nothing showed up at all. Case notes, file number 619. At first I figured this was going to be a time loop glitch for the stewardess, where she had actually taken your order, confused the seats, and then it reset from her perspective, but not on the ordering or device system. But you said your card wasn't charged, so that's odd, and maybe that's not what happened. Similar to how Nicolas Cage's character in Next works. He basically can witness a future that doesn't really happen, but it does in his mind and he remembers it. So a sort of prediction system. I'm guessing as the plane debarked, you tried to find the other couple that evidently had the same name as you, but you couldn't find them. Maybe it was a 1 in a billion coincidence. They weren't doppelgangers or lookalikes, just similar people with similar mannerisms and preferences and names. Frankly though, that strikes me as far less likely than a parallel universe perception glitch. When it comes to parallel universes, there are two types of events. A crossover, where you actually physically go there and usually stay there, or a vision of it, simply seeing it as reality for a moment or two, then hopping back, or rather being pulled back by something. Perhaps this happened for the stewardess. She saw a parallel version with you both in it, virtually identical, took your order there, then eventually her perception returned to the original universe with the real you in it. This would explain her confusion and also how your card wasn't charged. She was certain she did charge it because she did, just not to her you. Case file number 620, written by Blue Fox, 1771. The Quantum Stick. This happened years ago, but I don't talk about it because people usually assume I'm misremembering or making it up. I grew up in a tiny house with a big yard as one of several brothers. One day, my brothers, some friends and I were all hanging out in the yard, roughhousing and being rowdy. 6 of us in total, counting myself. My older brother and I were stick fighting with some old 1 1/4 inch wooden dowels. Now, my older brother had a bad habit of being a bit impulsive, and sometimes had trouble keeping the stick fighting at what you'd typically consider normal play levels of intensity. In this particular instance, he figured if he swung it hard enough, he could knock mine out of my hands and win. I saw him reeling back for a full-on baseball swing, so I winced and put my stick out to block as best as I could and waited for the impact. I heard the whoosh of the swing, but it never landed. He was staring dumbfounded at the stick and then me. It had passed cleanly through my stick and my body without touching either. This was a 5-foot piece of dowel, and he was standing 2 feet away from me. I was dead center in the middle of his swing arc, and there was absolutely no way that he had just missed. Everyone else saw it too. The conversation all immediately stopped as all 6 of us stood frozen, stunned by what we just witnessed or experienced. We all just sort of put the sticks down and wordlessly went inside, not sure how to process this. Over the next few years, it came up in conversation among the people who were there, so I know I'm not just misremembering it. I may have had my eyes closed, but even the most credible of my friends confirmed that he was watching when it happened and has no idea how it happened. He works for a space agency these days and is not the kind of person to make things up. Bonus file, written by Luna Lover. A wish granted. I had always believed in paranormal activity to some extent growing up, ghosts and demons, but I never believed in curses. I always thought you had to be dead to deal with the supernatural. I was abused regularly as a child, and I remember always wanting to know when it would happen next, but I never told anyone. Mostly because I thought they would kill me and wanted to know before. On this particular night, I was locked in the garage. I was so tired since I had to stay up for days, but I was without food, so I did my normal routine and snuck out to find food. I often ate bugs. I know, judge me all you want, but they kept me from being hungry. They were difficult times. When I went to pick up this specific bug to eat it, it bit me instead, so I let it go and went back inside, as I'd already eaten a bit and luckily found a sandwich that was trashed. When I got back in, I remember being instantly tired and laying down on the ground, falling asleep. I was no more than 6, but remember vividly I'd woken up but couldn't move, and a voice spoke to me. It was a simple question. Do you want help? I wasn't sure what it meant, and I couldn't move, but the thing approached me. It stood over me and asked again, do you want help? It asked me if I was hungry and why I wasn't loved. I didn't know. I stayed in this dreamlike state for a while as the creature asked me questions. After a while, I felt myself waking up and it asked me again if I wanted help. It asked me if I wanted to prevent it, so I said yes. When I fully woke up, I was starving, which was odd. After a while, I thought I dreamt it, and when I checked my hand for a bug bite, I didn't have one. So I assumed I just dreamt it up and never actually ate last night. A couple of days went by before I was locked without food again, and went to eat bugs, dig through the trash, etc. After I ate a certain bug, I knew something was wrong. It just didn't taste good, and it had a ton of liquid in it. I ignored it until I finished my dinner and went back inside, then lived my normal life. Suddenly, when things happened, I had déjà vu. I didn't know what it was at the time, but as time flew by, I discovered it, and I'd always think of that dream I had. The abuse never stopped though, not until many years later. There were times I should have died, but I got by just fine somehow. I didn't have to eat bugs much longer though. I was eating leftovers, or my siblings snuck me food. Fast forward. I recently got in a car crash, and right before, for whatever reason, I leaned to the other side of the car and got a huge sense of déjà vu again. I knew exactly how it went. I memorized everything the doctor said to me, the car that hit us, and the food I got after. In the short while I was unconscious, that same figure visited me. He said the deal was made and left. If I hadn't have moved, I would have been blinded by the glass and my leg would have been jammed by the car. Ever since that, I hadn't had any déjà vu and feel like a piece of me is missing. Honestly, I'm not sure what the figure got out of it, but I'm sure that was what saved me. I've wanted to find it again, but I'm not sure it would have left if it hadn't have gotten what it wanted. I've tried looking into it, but I just keep getting that it was just a dream and you had a lucky break, or thank God, but I feel it was something more.